You're nothing but lies. Smack runner with weak alibis. Smack runner, your game is through. Smack runner, I'm talking to you.
Like the garbage that gets sent to the dump. You and your whole crew are nothing more than some chumps. It's time to take you out and kick you straight to the curb. My mission is to silence you and keep the game pure.
Smack runner, you're nothing but lies. Smack runner with weak alibis. Smack runner, your game is through. Smack runner, I'm talking to you.
Your skills are weak and incomplete, it's really a joke to think you...
They call us deplorable, and we love the name. They got the bodies in the dirt and need someone to blame. Got a penchant for greed and money to spare. They put the dollars in the coffers and the lies in the air. Well, we go one, we go all. I won't push you down, you won't let me fall. One day for sure we will stand tall. Where we go one, we go all. We are the patriots. Trust the plan because we have it all, and the fate is in our hands. Had a reason to fool us, but we didn't take the bait. They want to take us to hell, but we got guns at the gate. Where we go one, we go all. I won't push you down, you won't let me fall. One day for sure we will stand tall. Where we go one, we go all. They call it a conspiracy. It's the one last lie. We know who they are, and we got them in our sights. Our knowledge is power. They're running for the hills. If the law don't get them, then we the people will. Well, we go one, we go all. I won't push you down, you won't let me fall. One day for sure we will stand tall. Where we go one, we go all. We go all. I won't push you down, you won't let me fall. One day for sure we will stand tall. Where we go one, we go all.
Yeah! places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep that frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Hey folks, how you doing? My name is Bob Powell, and you're watching The Truth is Viral on Liberty One. It's Monday. Oh, yeah, I guess it is Monday. September 24th. And I've got a problem. My arm is getting worse. I don't know what to do about it. I called my doctor and went to see the doctor, and they tell me that it's going to be after Thanksgiving before an arthropod can see it. And in the meantime, I can hardly click a mouse. So I would appreciate your prayers for a nice healing. And maybe somebody to... Oh, my co-host is up here, Orion. Maybe somebody to drop off the list so that I can... scoot in there a little bit sooner. I really need some steroids, like, now. So yeah, this week has been something else, and it's only Monday. Found out this morning that both these Kavanaugh accusers, both Christine Blasey-Ford and Deborah Ramirez, are both funded by one of the most evil people in the world, Mr. George Soros. And he's funding them through his Open Societies page. Well, not page, but foundation. And let's take a look at this here real quick. We're going to get to Brett Kavanaugh in just a minute. Oh, my gosh. And we're going to explain why the left is so desperate to prevent Judge Kavanaugh from becoming a member of the Supreme Court. So... let's go to this from Life News. Pro-abortion billionaire George Soros is spending millions to defeat Brett Kavanaugh. A new political advocacy group that vowed to put $5 million behind an effort to stop Judge Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation to the U.S. Supreme Court has significant ties to the liberal financier George Soros. Can we just call him what he is? Can we call him a self-hating Nazi Jew? And that's not a disparagement of the Jewish people, just to reiterate the fact that this man that you see right there, in order to spare his own hide, traded his neighbors, his fellow Jews, to the Nazis. He worked for the Nazis, and he admitted it. Maybe if we got time later, I'll pull that up for you, that clip. I hadn't planned to, so I don't have it readily available, but I'm sure a lot of my viewers have seen it before. This man is a Nazi, a real Nazi, who didn't have any problem selling out his fellow Jews in order to save his own hide. And now he wants to kill more innocent people that haven't even been born yet. And he's spending millions of dollars to do it. This group, called Demand Justice, is organized and financed by a 501c4 called the 1630 Fund, which has collected some $2.2 million in contributions from the Open Society Policy Center, one of Soros' primary donation vehicles between 2012 and 2016. The fund is financed largely by a handful of donors. Financial statements filed with state oversight officials in 2014 show just 3 contributors that accounted for 70%, or some $11.5 million of the fund's total donations and grant revenue. Disclosure forms filed with the same agency in 2016 present similar facts. Fewer than 5 donors gave $13.3 million to the fund, representing 63% of their donations. OSPC is practically indistinct from the Open Society Foundation, Soros' philanthropic and grant-giving network. OSPC has no employees of its own, according to their tax returns. Foundation employees are compensated for any work done for the center. Said compensation is determined by the OSF, the Open Society Foundation, and documented in OSF's internal records. OSPC has no employees, the form reads. Employees of Open Society Foundation, a related section tax-exempt organization, perform services for OSPC. OSPC advances funds to Open Society Foundations for their services based on the time they spend on OSPC matters. Their compensation determined by Open Society Foundations and is based on market comparability data and is documented in Open Society Foundation records. Well, isn't that special? Okay, now, the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court presents the first significant political conflict since DJ was founded in the spring of 2018. Now, this outfit has vowed to put up to $5 million behind a multi-platform effort to stop Kavanaugh's confirmation. The campaign will feature television spots promoting embattled Democratic Senate incumbents in West Virginia, Indiana, and North Dakota who face competitive Republican challengers this spring. Boy, I'll tell you, folks, this guy is a real winner. Not. He's one of those evil. He's one of those really evil people. And like my Nietzsche quote says, "Whoever fights monster should see to it that in the process he does not himself become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you." And that's a struggle that I face every day. Not only am I one of the walking wounded in this info war, I've got to struggle to be more Christ-like every single day, because when I see these people, these murderers, these baby-eating adrenochrome junkies, I'll tell you, Christ was right when he said it'd be better that for you to wrap an anchor around your neck and throw yourself into the sea than to abuse one of these children. And it's the Marine in me that wants to be God's avenging right hand. But then again, I know I can't. That's not within my purview. These people are going to hell. So they've already been judged. They've already been sentenced. They're dead. And they just don't know it. But they're going to keep on fighting. Because for every soul that they can drag down to hell, they think they're going to get some kind of a brownie point from Beelzebub. Well, they're not going to get anything from Old Scratch, let me tell you. They're trying to fight this truth. Life. It's the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. That is the dictionary definition of life. If a bacteria were found on Mars, NASA would declare, "We've found life." If a snail darter is threatened because of a dam, the left says, "Well, we can't build a dam. It would kill a fish." But when it comes to defenseless children, these monsters have no problem cutting them into pieces, sticking a needle into the base of their skull and sucking out their brains. They're monsters. They really are. And it just breaks my heart. And it makes me mad. And it should make you mad too. If you're not mad, you've got a problem. So what are you going to do about it? You know, sit there in your rocking chair and watch me on the internet? Give me a thumbs up and a like and a comment and a share? Trust me, that is appreciated, and it's very much needed. But you've got to get angry. You've got to call your senators and tell them to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. These women that are accusing him of sexual improprieties, of sexual assaults and attempted rape, they're liars. Dianne Feinstein had that letter written to her by Christine Ford since the 30th of July. She questioned Brett Kavanaugh on the floor of the Senate and never brought it up. Only when it seemed like he was a done deal for confirmation did she bring this stuff up. And now this new broad. and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give this woman any respect because she doesn't deserve any. She's a filthy liar. Her name is Deborah Ramirez. And she says that Brett Kavanaugh and some of his friends gang raped her. That he took off his pants and rubbed his penis in her face. Of course, just like with Christine Ford, or Christine Blasey-Ford, all of the people that she put up as witnesses say, we didn't see that. We didn't go to that party. That party never happened. Depending on which one you talk to, not a single one of the witnesses, not one from either one of these two women has come forward and said, yes, this happened. These people just are stalling for time, trying to bully this man, this good and decent man, out of the deserved seat on the Supreme Court. And I don't think we're going to let it happen. At least I'm not. And I hope that you will be with me because I need your help. The Republic needs your help. Unborn children need your help. Now, when the New Yorker posted that piece of filth, they had the temerity to say that the accusation is enough. That they believed no, and even though they couldn't find any witnesses to corroborate it, they ran with the story. That's not journalism, folks. I've got a degree in journalism. I'm one of the only alternative news hosts that exist that actually started as a mainstream media journalist. My first editor, Nina, down in Florida, with a weekly newspaper called The Mirror, told me that if you are alleging or quoting somebody that's alleging a crime, you must have two sources or documentation from a law enforcement agency or the state attorney or something. These people are interfering in this process, trying to perform a character assassination of this good and decent man with no evidence whatsoever, and people believe them. Trump derangement syndrome is real. I'm sorry, Orion. I can't do anything with you right now, buddy. Daddy's busy. Hear the poor little guy meowing. He wants to get in the room. We can't let him right now. But this one of these people that wrote this piece of dreck, his name's Ronan Farrow. He works for the New Yorker, and interestingly enough, Ronan Farrow is the daughter of pervert Woody. The daughter, he probably is. He's the son of pervert Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. Okay, so that tells you where his pedigree comes from, right? So he was on CNN's New Day today, defending this piece of garbage, and even they gave him a hard time. It was beautiful. Hold on just one second. Let me pull this up for you. Oh my. Where am I? There I am. Dun, 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 dun. Please bear with me. This hurts. Every click of the mouse sends a hot burning pain up my arm. It's awful. Okay, here we go. Let me start this for you.
Mm-hmm. She remembers vividly Brett Kavanaugh laughing at her during this incident, pulling his pants up afterwards. Another classmate who she identified yelling down the hall, Brett Kavanaugh just put his penis in Debbie Ramirez's face. She remembers finding this extremely traumatic. She was devoutly religious. She had not engaged in this kind of activity before, and it was a significant incident for her. So much so that, you know, even given the fact that she was inebriated, not blackout drunk, capable of remembering things confidently, but inebriated, this was something that always stayed with her.
But she doesn't explicitly remember the moment. Correct, Ronan, that Brett Kavanaugh...
She does remember the moment at all.
Okay.
She does remember the moment as well.
She does remember
She remembers the moment. She describes it in detail in the piece. I'll leave it to her rendering to describe that.
Very good. She does remember the moment. All right. And then just, again, one other piece about the reporting before we go back and discuss the substance here. You, again, state in the piece. In all the arguments against this, I should note, you lay out. It's not as if you were not very careful in explaining exactly what the doubts and the questions about this were. But you note that you have not confirmed with other eyewitnesses that Kavanaugh was at the party. Explain that.
So we called several dozen classmates who were around at the time in general. Many didn't respond. Many didn't wish to comment. Several were working, in fact, with Brett Kavanaugh's team and signed on to a statement saying, you know, they didn't have direct knowledge of this, but they didn't think it was the kind of thing that he would have done, and we included that. It's worth noting that half of that list either were individuals she said were directly involved in this, were people who egged Brett Kavanaugh on as he did it, urging her to kiss it and other things, or the wife of one of those alleged assailants. But, you know, we did include those statements, and there were several others who were not alleged to be involved who said, you know, we trust Brett Kavanaugh on this. No direct accounts from that side. We did receive, however, several direct accounts from people who said they were told right after or saw her describing it right after, and who independently of Ms. Ramirez recounted the same fact pattern about Brett Kavanaugh doing this.
That's interesting, and that's something that doesn't always exist when you're dealing with allegations of sexual assault or allegations of sexual battery, correct?
I'm glad you make that point, John. This is a fairly high level of evidence for this kind of a case. When you look at the other reporting I've done, for instance, on sexual assault and harassment, the last story Jane Mayer and I did was about a Democratic politician, Eric Schneiderman, the New York Attorney General. And, you know, we used the same caution and standards there. very often there are not people in the room willing to speak in these cases. In this case, the primary people who were likely to be witnesses are people alleged to have been egging him on and to have been part of this, alleged misconduct against her. Now, we held this to the same careful standard, but I would say that this exceeds the evidentiary basis that we've used in the past in several cases that were found to be very credible ultimately.
Exceeds any evidentiary basis that we've had in the past. The New Yorker used to be a respected magazine. I guess not. Guess not anymore. This story was so wild that not even the New York Times would touch it. Look at this. The Times has interviewed several dozen people over the past week in an attempt to corroborate her story and could find no one with first-hand knowledge. Ms. Ramirez herself contacted former Yale classmates asking if they recalled the incident and told some of them she could not be certain Mr. Kavanaugh was the one who exposed himself. So this so-called accuser, well, she's not a so-called accuser, she actually is an accuser, brings this so-called allegation, and she admits that she doesn't even know if it was Brett Kavanaugh. But the New Yorker runs with it like it's gospel. And it's just sick. Well, I'd like to let these two ladies know something. And they may not care because they're going to set up GoFundMes. Actually, Christine Ford already has a GoFundMe, brought in over $400,000, a couple of them. But this chick's going to make a GoFundMe too, and she's going to get rich. They'll lie for the principle. They'll lie just to keep Brett Kavanaugh off the bench. They'll make it an extra juicy lie to grab $500,000 in dirty cash for telling it. Well, guess what, ladies? This is your fate. This woman made a false rape claim, and she was sent to prison. That 19-year-old Long Island woman who filed a bogus rape complaint against two Sacred Heart University football players was sentenced Thursday to a year behind bars and a tongue lashing from the judge? Okay. Nikki Jovino first told cops in October 2016 that the two players from the Fairfield, Connecticut college forced her to have sex in a bathroom at a booze-filled party. Does that sound familiar, folks? She later admitted that she made the charges up so her evident promiscuity wouldn't alienate a potential boyfriend. That is the key. This whole Trump derangement syndrome, one of the main symptoms is the term psychological projection, where people take their own sins and cast them onto others. But right now, right at this very moment, I'm looking at it. Judge Brett Kavanaugh is telling this story. And it's a heck of a story. Because it's a bombshell. I want you to watch this clip from tonight's episode of Martha McCallum's show. I hope you're DVRing it. I am. And this is going to make great television. I'm going to get some popcorn and watch this as soon as my show's over. It's going to be great. But let's look at this here real quick. There we go. Come on, click. Go.
Allegations of sexual misconduct against the Supreme Court nominee. Here's a preview.
We're talking about an allegation of sexual assault. I've never sexually assaulted anyone. I did not have sexual intercourse or anything close to sexual intercourse in high school or for many years thereafter. And the girls from the schools I went to and I were friends.
So you're saying that through all these years that are in question, you were a virgin?
That's correct.
Never had sexual intercourse with anyone in high school?
Correct.
And through what years in college, since we're probing into your personal life here?
Many years after. I'll leave it at that. Many years after.
Wow. All right. Well, that entire interview aired
How do you
at
like
7
that,
p.m.
folks?
Eastern.
All through high school and college, he was a virgin. Not only is that admirable, but for him to admit that on national television, all the left would have to do is find one woman with whom he had sex to shoot him down. But they won't be able to do it. I believe him. And you should too. And you should stand up and defend this man. There are 3 U.S. senators, Republican U.S. senators, that are iffy on the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Susan Collins, Jeff Flake, and Murkowski. You need to light up their phones. Tag them on Twitter, on Facebook, in every forum that you go to. Okay, you have to enlist people to help you the same way I'm enlisting you to help me. I can stand here, well, sit here, and I can rant and rave all night long, but nothing is going to get done unless you like, comment, and share the videos. And don't just share them on your personal timeline. Copy and paste the video description and put it in every Facebook group that you belong to. Overwhelm their algorithm because they're silencing me personally. I'm shadow banned on every social media platform: YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Show I did a couple of weeks ago got 178,000 views, live views here on Liberty One. Got 248 on YouTube. I have 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. 26 are watching this show live right now. Tell me how that's possible. Of the 12,000 subscribers that the Truth is Viral page has on Facebook, maybe 2% see my posts. They're desperate. They're shutting down every conservative voice, and the only way that we can get the information out is for you to share the information. That video that I opened up the show with, where we go one, we go all. I know I haven't really been really big into the Q stuff. I've been watching it. But I'll be doggone if it's not coming to pass. And let's see, where was the post from? Come on. Here we go. From September 23rd. I apologize that this isn't centered. But this is Q on QAnonPost.com. That's a place that you need to bookmark in your browsers and visit every single day. He said that this week would be glorious, that 2018 as a whole would be glorious, and that the sky is falling this week. And folks, I'm here to tell you, we're in a battle. We really are. The second Civil War has started. We just haven't fired any shots yet. At the moment, it's an ideological battle. Yeah, I pray it stays that way. I can't think of anything that would be more horrific than having to take a human life, even if it's in defense of my life or the defense of somebody that I love. And let me tell you, I've been threatened a lot. I used to have my own FBI agent that I would report the threats to, and then she retired, and I just said, oh, hell with it, because they weren't doing anything anyway. I've had people threaten to cut my testicles off, murder me, along with federal agents. You'd think that that would get the FBI's attention, but they don't care. They never even went out to visit that guy that made a video offering a financial reward for my death and the deaths of my family. They never even went out to see him, even though he threatened to murder federal agents that got in his way. I guess they were too busy surveilling Donald Trump, cooking up their own garbage. They don't care about us. They really don't. So while defending myself would be something that I'm not looking forward to, and I pray that it never has to happen, I'm prepared. And so should you be. Because it's only going to get worse. I said that this second Civil War is ideological at the moment. Well, it's not going to stay that way. They've been planning this for a generation. Do you think that they're going to stop because they don't get their way with a Supreme Court nominee? No, they're not. They're desperate. They're turning on each other because they know they've been caught. They've been caught with their pants down. And I've been watching this Q stuff, and he appears to be giving them a beating. Actually, it's Donald Trump that's giving them the beating. And one reason that I'm giving any credence at all to the Q stuff is because of a tweet that Donald Trump sent out day after his election, or a year and a day after his election, of him and his team on Air Force One. And I'm just kind of winging it by the seat of my pants tonight, so I don't have all the graphics that I'd like to show. But anyway, the file name of that tweet was Do It Q. And then, like all of Q messages, the file name ended in a Q. Okay, so it's got to be astronomically impossible for a randomly generated file name, as I've been told that they are on Twitter. I don't believe it. But it's got to be astronomically impossible for a randomly generated file name to start off with a phrase in English referencing this Q phenomenon, ending in a Q after like another 9 letters, random letters. At least random as far as I know. If anybody else has decoded them, let me know. But this was tweeted from Donald Trump's account. The real Donald Trump tweeted this out. So I believe it. I believe that there is something to it. Whoever, they say that this Q thing is a LARP, live action role playing. If that's true, whoever is conducting it has to be in charge, or at least have access to Donald Trump's Twitter account. So that one fact, that one tweet, made me perk up and pay attention to this phenomenon known as Q. And one of the people that I follow on Twitter is called, his handle is In the Matrix. And he produced that video that I played at the very beginning of the show. And if you haven't learned about the Q phenomenon yet, well, there are places that you can go. Just Google QAnon or The Great Awakening or where WW1, No, WWG1, WGA. Yeah, where we go one, we go all. And it gives me a lot of hope. And like I said, this week has been a sky is falling week, because they're getting desperate, pulling these whores, these lying whores out from underneath whatever filthy rock that they're used to living under, and bringing them out to smear this good and decent man. And paying them for it. Mercenaries. The devil's mercenaries. I think that's what I'm going to start calling them. Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at some of these comments over on the YouTube channel. And I've got to tell these guys, there's no such thing as the Khazarian Mafia. That was brought up by Gordon Duff and Stu Webb over at Veterans Today. And I have personal knowledge that Stu Webb and Gordon Duff are filthy liars, communists. Not only have they donated their services, or well, I guess they got paid for their services by appearing on Press TV, the Iranian state news agency. They've lied to me personally on the phone about stories that they put up and then took down because I called them out on it. And as long as I'm on the Khazarian thing, people use that. It's a red herring put out there by the devil, okay? That says that the people in Israel now are not real Jews, that they're part of some tribe in the Caucasus that converted to Judaism. Well, folks, number one, Judaism is extremely xenophobic, pretty much. They don't just let anybody convert to Judaism, much less a whole country at once, and they can't be forced to. To be a Jew, your parents have to be Jews. Okay, but let's say just for a moment that there was this country in the Caucasus, Kazakhstan, and this Khazari thing is true. That it was a tribe of people that converted to Judaism and eventually ended up in Israel. Well, guess what? According to Ezekiel 37, the Valley of the Dry Bones prophecy, whoever it is that's in Israel now, they're exactly the people that God wanted to be there. Because he said in Ezekiel 37 that he will gather up his people from the four corners of the earth and bring them back to the Holy Land. If you don't believe Ezekiel 37, if you don't believe the word of the Lord, what am I doing? You're calling God a liar or a failure for allowing people that aren't real Jews into the land of Abraham's promise. And I don't know about you, but I'm not prepared to call Almighty God a liar or a failure. It ain't going to happen. So according to Ezekiel 37, the people that are in Israel now are exactly the people that he wants to be there. The people that Almighty God wants to be in the Holy Land. Thanks a lot for walking through my shot, bud. Oh my gosh. But yeah, this Kavanaugh thing wasn't the only sideshow that we had going on today. First thing I woke up this morning, I turned on the television, turned on the computer, and there were several competing theories about what was happening with Ron Rosenstein. Some people said that he was going out, or news media outlets, the legacy media, half of them are reporting he's going to the White House this morning to resign. Half of them are reporting that he's going there with the knowledge that he's going to be fired. Nobody knew what was going on. And it was back and forth. It was insane. I was watching it on Twitter Live this morning, and it was back and forth, back and forth. Is he going to be fired? Is he going to resign? Oh, my gosh. Either way, I think it's obvious that Mr. Rosenstein is toast. And here's a statement from Sarah Sanders, the press secretary. At the request of Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, he and President Trump had an extended conversation to discuss the recent news stories. Because the president is at the United Nations General Assembly and has a full schedule with leaders from around the world, they will meet on Thursday when the president returns to Washington, D.C. Thursday is going to be an action-packed day. Christine Blasey-Ford is going to be there testifying. They finally worked out those details. She'll testify first. Brett Kavanaugh won't be allowed in the room. And he will go second to answer her accusations. But the great part is, folks, it's going to be a public hearing. That means it's going to be on television. I need more popcorn. Oh, my goodness. Folks, this is going to be a really wild week. A really, really, really wild week. And can't just watch it on TV or watch it on the internet. You can't. You've got to take an active part in this process. The Democrats are pulling out all the stops, lying their asses off, doing anything that they can, coming up with the most filthy, perverted lies in order to derail the nomination or confirmation of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Because they know that once that happens, their plan that they've been working on since the 60s to introduce godless communism into this country, it's over. You know, Judge Kavanaugh has said that Roe versus Wade is settled law. And that he has no plans to overturn it. Well, I hope that something happens, some case comes before him that will allow him to overturn Roe versus Wade. And it's not because I want to insert myself or force my opinions on women. It's to protect children. I'm a very pro-choice person. First, a woman can choose to remain celibate until she finds the man that she's going to marry and have children with. That's what Judge Kavanaugh did. Judge Kavanaugh and his wife, that's what they did. They were both virgins. And I can't wait to watch this interview on Martha McCallum's show. If you can't do that, you can choose to use birth control. And if you can't do that, and you end up getting pregnant, a woman can choose to be to term and adopt a loving couple who are aching for a child to care for. If having a baby is going to disrupt your lifestyle, I'm sorry. Doesn't mean you have to kill it. Or they can choose to be a responsible parent. Liberals don't seem to understand the concept of personal responsibility. If you make a mistake, own up to it and just learn from the mistake that you made. Accept the consequences and move on with your life. If you have a child out of wedlock, don't. Just live with it. Do your best to raise the child and love it. It's part of you. It's part of your body. At the same time, a distinct individual human being. God knew every one of us from before the time that we were created in the womb. That's what he says. So you've got 4 choices, ladies, before you have to choose becoming a murderer. If you get to the point where killing an innocent child is your last resort, well, there's no hope for you. You just lost it. You lost all sense of your humanity. Hey, bud. Yeah, I know. Daddy's upset. Because 61 million children have been murdered since Roe v. Wade was passed or upheld. 61 million children. Their blood sacrificed on the altar of Moloch. That's the Canaanite god that demanded human sacrifice. And, the Bohemian Grove, that owl that they've got out there, that all these elite go out and worship every year. Alex Jones exposed that years ago. They go out there and do what they call a cremation of care ceremony. And it's just demonic. It really is. And we've got to stand up and fight it. I can't imagine a holy God that is going to bless a nation or continue to bless a nation that sacrifices its children. On the devil's altar. It just really upsets me. There's something I wanted to share with you before I go. I'm looking for it here real quick. Doggone it. I really hate this. My poor hand hurts so much. So again, please pray for my hand. Pray that people will have their eyes opened. That Brett Kavanaugh will be confirmed, and we can stop this genocide of children. I mean, defenseless babies. because I'm telling you, you got to listen to me. If we don't, we can give up any hope of God making this or keeping this country under his protection. It may already be too late. Sorry to say. Yeah, I'm still convinced that the war in Syria, the unrest in Syria, is the beginning of the Ezekiel 38 through 39 war, the Gog-Magog war. And that as a result of this war, the United States is going to be hit with a series of electromagnetic pulse devices. That is the only way that an enemy can take us out. And they can do it right now. They can kill 90% of the people in this country with 3 EMP devices detonated at 250 miles above the atmosphere. I've had Dr. Peter Vincent Pry and Iranian CIA spy Reza Khalili on my show before. Look for those videos on YouTube. It's horrifying, the things that they have told me. They were on the Electromagnetic Pulse Commission for Congress. And so it may already be too late. God may have already withdrawn his hand of protection. And we're going to suffer for it. But like the Bible says in Psalm 106, verses 37 through 43, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters to false gods. They shed innocent blood, the blood of their sons and daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan. And the land was desecrated by their blood. They defiled themselves by what they did. By their deeds, they prostituted themselves. Therefore, the Lord was angry with his people and abhorred his inheritance. He gave them over to the hands of the nations, and their foes ruled over them. Their enemies oppressed them and subjected them to their power. Many times he delivered them, but they were bent on rebellion, and they wasted away in their sin. So please, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the United States will continue to be blessed until Christ returns to take us home. But I'm not counting on it. See, I'm kind of like a Boy Scout. Well, I actually was a Boy Scout. I'm like, be prepared. Be prepared for anything. Be prepared for Christ to come this very minute. But don't count on it. The book of Revelation says that we're not destined for wrath. But it also says that the souls of the saints that had been beheaded for their testimony in Christ cried out, "When will we be avenged?" So, my friends, in summation, we could be going through a very rough time in the years ahead. You need to prepare for it. Don't count on a rapture to save you from it. Pray for one. That'd be great. Sitting here one day, just jacking my jaw, playing my cat, and in a twinkling of an eye, I'm translated, and so are the rest of the church, and we're brought up to heaven. But I'm can't count on it. If anything, this life has taught me is that the one thing I can count on is suffering. That's the one thing that every human has in common. At some point, they will suffer in their lives. And through all of my suffering, the death of my daughter, my mom, my wife. I've learned that there's only going to be one person there for me. And his name is Jesus Christ. Ever faithful, ever true. He is my Savior and our coming King. And with my last breath, I will proclaim his holy name. So, it's 8 o'clock, 8:02, and I was told I could have 2 minutes to go over. And so that's it. Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell. I'm going to watch this Laura Ingraham special, get my popcorn, and maybe a drink. Numb that wrist pain. Don't forget to say a prayer for me on that. And till Wednesday night, thanks for watching, and as always, God bless, Semper Fi, and hoorah. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to us via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Smack runner, your game is through. Smack runner, I'm talking to you.